Have you ever walked into a room and felt instantly overwhelmed? Not because something was wrong, but because there was simply too much. Have you ever opened your phone, your inbox, or even your thoughts and felt the weight of endless clutter pressing against your peace? And have you ever wondered how much lighter your life could feel if you just let go of what no longer serves you? We live in an age of accumulation, not just of things, but of information, expectations, and noise. Everywhere we turn, there's something asking for our attention, our energy, our space. Yet the more we collect, the less we seem to feel in control. That's the silent burden of modern life. We mistake having more for living more. But the truth is, what weighs us down the most often isn't what we lack, but what we refuse to release. Decluttering isn't just about cleaning a room. It's about freeing your mind, redefining your priorities, and finding your center again. The process of decluttering begins with awareness. It's not just a physical act, it's an emotional and mental shift. You start by noticing what's been quietly draining you. That pile of clothes you never wear, the overflowing drawers, the digital notifications that never stop, the relationships that leave you feeling smaller instead of stronger. These are the invisible anchors that hold you back from clarity. Every item, every commitment, every unnecessary yes carries a weight. Over time, that weight becomes the reason you feel stuck, anxious, or unfulfilled. Letting go becomes an act of healing. To declutter your life, begin with your physical environment. Look around the spaces where you spend most of your time, your bedroom, your workspace, your kitchen. Ask yourself, does this object serve a purpose, or is it just taking up space? We often hold on to things just in case, believing we might need them someday. But most of the time, that someday never comes. What does come, though, is the slow erosion of your mental space. Each unnecessary item becomes a tiny decision waiting to be made, and decision fatigue is real. By clearing your space, you're clearing your mind. You're reclaiming energy that's been scattered across 1,000 small distractions. Start small. Maybe it's a drawer, maybe a shelf. Touch each item and ask yourself, do I use this, love this, or need this? If not, let it go. Donate, recycle, or release it with gratitude. You'll be amazed at how much energy flows back to you once your surroundings start breathing again. A decluttered space becomes a mirror of a decluttered mind. It invites calm, it whispers peace. It reminds you that you control your environment, not the other way around. But physical clutter is only the surface. The deeper clutter, the one that truly weighs us down, lives inside. Our minds are filled with unfinished thoughts, past regrets, unspoken words, and worries about things beyond our control. We carry them everywhere, even into our sleep. Mental clutter is like a constant background noise, subtle but exhausting. It keeps you from being fully present. It keeps you chasing instead of resting. To clear this inner clutter, start by noticing what thoughts repeat most often. Are they helpful or are they draining? Are they rooted in truth or fear? You can't always control what enters your mind, but you can choose what stays. Journaling helps. So does silence, the kind where you sit without a screen, without distraction, and let your thoughts settle like dust after a storm. Over time, you'll begin to see which thoughts matter and which are just noise. Decluttering your mind is not about emptying it completely. It's about organizing it so that peace has room to grow. Then comes emotional clutter, the hardest to face, but the most freeing to release. We carry grudges, old heartbreaks, self-blame, and fears that no longer serve us. These emotions weigh heavier than any physical object. We replay conversations that ended years ago, hold on to guilt that doesn't belong to us, or stay in relationships that keep us in cycles of pain. Decluttering emotionally means forgiveness, not to excuse others, but to free yourself. It's the courage to say, I release what hurt me, not because it was right, but because I deserve peace more than I deserve resentment. When you start letting go of emotional clutter, you create space for healing. You stop defining yourself by the pain and start remembering who you are beneath it. That's the real transformation. When you realize that freedom isn't something you find, it's something you uncover once you stop carrying what no longer fits. Decluttering also applies to how we spend our time. Our schedules are often packed, but our hearts are empty. We say yes to things we don't enjoy, commit to people we don't align with, and fill every gap with busyness. because stillness feels uncomfortable. But busyness is not productivity, it's distraction. To declutter your time means to protect it fiercely, to say no with clarity, to choose rest without guilt, and to build days that reflect your values instead of other people's demands. Minimalism in your schedule doesn't make you lazy, it makes you focused. When your calendar stops controlling you, you start living with intention. Every no becomes a sacred yes to what truly matters. Then there's digital clutter, one of the most invisible yet powerful sources of stress in our modern lives. Endless emails, unread notifications, photos we'll never look at again, and social feeds that keep us comparing instead of connecting. Decluttering your digital life starts with boundaries. Unsubscribe from emails that don't add value. Turn off notifications that hijack your attention. Unfollow accounts that make you feel less than enough. Remember, your attention is currency. Spend it wisely. Your phone should be a tool, not a trap. When you clear the digital noise, you reclaim your focus, your creativity, and your calm. You'll find yourself less reactive, more centered, and surprisingly, more human again. But even as you declutter, you might notice resistance. Letting go often triggers fear. Fear of losing security, identity, or comfort. Many of us hold on to clutter because it feels familiar. An overflowing closet feels like abundance, even when it's suffocating. A busy calendar feels like purpose, even when it's draining. That's why decluttering requires not just action, but awareness. You have to ask yourself, why am I holding on to this? What does this represent? When you answer honestly, you'll discover that most clutter is emotional, not practical. We hold on to things because they make us feel safe, but real safety comes from clarity, not possession. The beauty of decluttering is that it doesn't just create space, it reveals truth. Once you clear away the unnecessary, what remains is what truly matters. The clothes you actually love, the work that genuinely fulfills you, the people who really care, the peace that was always there, waiting under the noise. Decluttering is not subtraction, it's refinement. You're not losing anything essential, you're uncovering your essence. You might find too that as you simplify your surroundings, your desires change. You stop craving constant stimulation, you become more present. A quiet morning coffee feels like luxury, a tidy desk feels like clarity, a walk outside feels like abundance. This is the paradox of minimalism. When you stop chasing more, you begin to see that you already have enough. Gratitude naturally follows, and with gratitude comes joy. There's also a spiritual side to decluttering. Many ancient philosophies teach that external clutter reflects internal chaos. To live simply is to live with awareness, to honor what is truly sacred: time, relationships, health, peace. When you remove what's unnecessary, you create room for what's eternal. Your life becomes lighter, but richer. You begin to notice moments again, the sound of rain, the feeling of sunlight, the quiet between words. That's the gift of simplicity. It reconnects you to the present moment. Decluttering is not a one-time project. It's a practice, a way of living. The world will always tempt you to accumulate again. New trends, new gadgets, new distractions will appear, promising happiness. But once you've felt the calm that comes from less, you'll start to see through the illusion of more. You'll choose differently. You'll protect your peace. Because now you know that happiness isn't something you can buy, it's something you uncover when the excess is gone. So how do you begin today? Start small, but start. Choose one corner, one file, one thought. Let it go. Feel the difference, no matter how subtle. Then do it again tomorrow. Decluttering doesn't happen overnight. It's a gentle unraveling, a gradual remembering of what matters most. You'll fail sometimes. You'll keep things you don't need. But every time you release something, physical, mental, or emotional, you move one step closer to freedom. Over time, you'll notice your home feels lighter, your thoughts quieter, and your heart calmer. You'll realize that the less you carry, the farther you can go. The world around you won't change, but you will. You'll see that simplicity isn't the opposite of abundance, it's the path to it. When you no longer measure life by what you own, but by how deeply you live, you find peace. In the end, decluttering your life is about creating space for your best self to emerge. It's about replacing chaos with clarity, noise with meaning, and stress with stillness. You let go not because you're giving up, but because you're growing up. You're choosing peace over possession, intention over impulse, and freedom over fear. If you're ready to feel lighter, calmer, and more in control, begin today. Release one thing, one thought, one burden. Let go and watch how your world expands. Thank you for watching this video on Think Fresh Daily. If this message inspired you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Think Fresh Daily for more inspiring insights on living better with less.